What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mo Money School, the school that teaches you everything that the school system should have taught you. I'm your host, Chris Mo. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about where you should be putting your money into for 2021. Now, this type of investment, it's not stocks, it's not real estate, it's not some fancy company, it's not giving your money out to some random person. No, this investment is something that you need before you even get started in those platforms, because majority of people don't even have this. And I'm going to go ahead and cut to the chase and tell you right away because I don't want to waste your time. The investment that you need to make for 2021 is to create an online savings account. So for this episode, we're going to be covering what an online savings account is, how it works, the best way to find one, and I'm going to go ahead and give you some tips. But this episode is going to be completely different from the other ones. For this episode, I'm going to go ahead and be switching off to another screen. That way you get to see exactly what I'm researching. Because this school isn't just about me telling you what to do. I want to go ahead and create independent thinkers that can go out in the world and achieve whatever it is that they want. This school was made for people just like myself. So a little bit about me. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Go ahead and like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. You see, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. In other words, the hood. You see, where I come from, there's not many people that can teach you much about anything. So I had to learn everything the hard way. And there's a lot of things that I had to overcome in order to get to the position that I'm at now. Now I help run a construction company in the home improvement industry for the greater Los Angeles area. It's a successful small business that I love to be a part of because honestly, I just love business. I went to school, Cal State Northridge, and I graduated with an economics degree. And I've been studying self-improvement, finances, and just business itself. And I just love talking about it. And I want to go ahead and help people with similar circumstances like myself to help them move up in the world. So without wasting any more time, let's get to it. Now, guys, before we get started, I do want to go ahead and let you guys know the reason why this is so important. I know when I was growing up, nobody ever taught me anything about money. Nobody told me anything about a savings account, checking account. I knew nothing, so I learned everything the hard way. Now, an online savings account is really crucial before you start investing into stocks or real estate, because without an emergency fund, without savings, without anything, you're basically living paycheck to paycheck. So before we even get into it and tell you exactly what a savings account is and how it works, I want to go ahead and show you guys some facts. You see, the way I teach people to become independent thinkers is that I tell them that the very first thing when it comes to asking questions or just wanting to know anything about what something is, you need to go ahead and Google it. It's the 21st century. Google has literally all the answers you can think of. Like, I can tell you right now that I'm not the smartest person in the world. I do read a lot of books like you guys see there, but my knowledge is nothing compared to what's on Google. So I always tell people, just get your phone, take out Google whatever it is that you want to go ahead and learn. Everything's on there. Everything I will be teaching on this course is on Google, but I'll go ahead and give my intake on it and kind of phrase it into a way where it's easy to understand for you guys. And there's some people just like myself when I first started that we don't like to read, especially coming from the hood. There's not much people who can literally read at all or just, go ahead and want to pick up a book. I know that's the very first thing that I struggled with, is just reading. And believe it or not, guys, in life, all you really got to do is read it between the lines, and you get the answers. A lot of people do not read. A lot of people do not research. And that's what I want to go ahead and do with this channel, is to get you guys to start learning and start teaching yourselves, because unfortunately, I'm not going to be there your whole entire life to hold your hand and teach you everything that I know. But I do want to go ahead and kind of give you the skills and the methods of how I figure things out and how you can figure things out on your own. And honestly, in today's world, all you really need is Google. And that's why Google is technically one of my closest friends. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we get into it, the first thing that I do want to share with you guys is facts. Facts, because like I said, men and women do lie. Don't believe other people. Stick to facts. The fact that I graduated with an economics degree, they did teach me one thing that stuck to me forever. I learned that in the economics world, that every single question has two sides. So majority of questions, the answer to them are, it depends. It depends, because every single situation is completely different. We want to go ahead and just stick with what we know, which is the facts. Now, if we start on Google, the very first question that I went ahead and put in is, how much in savings do people have? That's all you got to go ahead and put. You scroll down, look at the different things. I already went through a couple of these, and I decided to go with this one, which is Fool. Fool is just another blog. It's a monthly Fool service. In other words, it's just a blog, and you can see on the right side who made it. Little things like that. You can check up here, see when was it done. But this part of the page is what I want to go ahead and bring you guys towards to, which is telling you guys just numbers, just facts that you guys need to be aware of, because a lot of people don't even know this. The very first thing here, that the Federal Reserve reported that 39% of Americans don't have enough money to cover a $400 emergency accident. What does that mean? That means that, let's say, for example, you guys got into a car crash and you had to pay for some bills or something. Majority of people won't have the money for that. And I know, coming from a Hispanic family, we don't have a lot in savings because we're living off minimum wage or just living in poverty, and that sucks. It sucks because we can't really pay our bills because we don't have enough money to get to that. And I know majority of my family is still going through that struggle, and I try to teach them to save because, guys, life does happen. And when life happens, you want to go ahead and make sure that you're ready. That's why it's so important that you start creating your online savings account, because if life does happen, you're going to go ahead and have money to be able to pay for a rainy day. Another thing that you want to go ahead and look into is this little line right here, which is basically saying that every single person needs at least 3 to 6 months in savings for all of their expenses. And that's one of the tips that I give everybody. I know for myself, a while ago, believe it or not, I was actually $20,000 in debt, and I was able to get out of it. But now I have up to a year's worth of savings where I have all my expenses paid for, and my expenses are a lot. Either way, you need to go ahead and start saving for a rainy day. Some fun facts that you can find here is the fact that, look, 71% of Americans have a savings account. What does that mean? Yeah, that's a good side, but look at the bad side. That means that about 29% of Americans don't have a savings account. That's almost a quarter of people in America that don't have a savings account, which is crazy. Everybody needs to have a savings account. It also says that 22% of Americans have up to just $1,000 or $5,000 in savings. $1,000 or $5,000 in savings. If you live in Los Angeles like myself, that's almost like 2 months of rent plus utilities and bills. That's not going to cover much. It also says that 56% of Americans have $5,000 or less in savings, while a third has less than $1,000. Guys, that is a problem. And we look at the median of emergency fund is about $2,000. 3 out of 4 people keep at least some of their savings in a brick and mortar bank. Brick and mortar banks are a thing of the past, and we'll get into that today. Guys, you guys can keep on reading the rest of the blog. I just wanted to go ahead and show this to you guys because I want to make sure that you guys understand that it's a problem. It's a problem, especially if you're coming from a background like myself and nobody really taught you how to save or where to put your money. And this is what this video is really all about. Now we acknowledge the problem, and now we're able to see it. So what is an online savings account, right? So again, we just go to Google. I already did the Google search for you. It's really, really simple. Life is not that hard anymore. So I Googled what is a savings account, and I went through all of them. I felt like the first one was the best one for me, and like everybody, we just go for the first one. It's really simple. NerdWallet is a great blog that you can look up and just learn about money. But the question is, what is a savings account? And this is real simple. You can go ahead and look at the definition here. I'll go ahead and tell you guys in the most simplest of words. A savings account is like a checking account. It's just a place where you can put your money, and your money is able to grow at a certain percent without doing anything. And why? How does this even work? Well, again, my economics background helps me out a little bit. Basically, the way banks work is that you lend your money to that bank. Now, when that bank receives your money, it's able to loan that money out to other people who are using the same bank. And then banks loan on loans and loans and loans and loans. And that's basically how it works. So since you're helping that bank out with keeping your money there, they're able to now create loans using their money. And hopefully that bank doesn't go bankrupt and then you lose your money, which is what happened a long time ago with bank runs and things like that. It's completely different nowadays. You're not going to have the same thing that happened a long time ago. Now there's securities for online savings accounts, or even savings accounts in general and banks in general, because now the government passed a law where things are FDIC approved. You can go ahead and actually have up to $250,000 worth of savings covered by the US government. This is just telling you guys a little bit about what an online savings account is. You guys can read the rest of the blog. I'll go ahead and post the links below. Let's get to the really gritty part of all of this, which is how do savings account works. I know I told you the economics kind of explanation of how it works, but this here I went to Discover's a bank that you can use. I know I have a Discover credit card which I use, which is great. I would recommend it. An online savings account, how does it work? How does the interest work? Well, to give you guys the fancy definition, the interest rate determines how much money a bank pays you to keep your funds on the deposit. So you need to keep your money there, and the bank will give you a percentage of that amount of money every single year, which is considered the annual percentage yield, which will be the APY. Now, every single bank does offer different APYs, and this is the main reason why you need to go ahead and start using an online savings account and not a brick and mortar bank. Reason being is that brick and mortar banks, they have expenses, they have to pay for rent, electricity, all these utilities and all these employees, so they offer you a really low savings account. These online savings account, which I believe the future is all in online and just technology itself, are moving their banks online and giving people a better percentage, which is why you need to go ahead and switch your bank account or at least your savings account to an online savings account, because you're going to be getting a bigger interest. An online savings account is not going to go ahead and make you rich, but it is going to be better to transition towards an online savings account rather than the bank down the street, because the bank down the street has expenses and they're not going to give you much interest. Again, you're not going to be getting rich off of this, but you'll be getting a way better return transitioning to an online savings account instead of the bank down the street. Down here it gives you an explanation or an example of exactly how much money you need and how much of an interest rate, how to calculate how much money you'll get back. There's a lot of banks online that can make this process a lot easier, but at the end of the day, what you want to be looking at is the APY. The bigger the APY, the more money you'll be getting. The more money you deposit, the more money you'll be receiving back. At the end of the day, the interest rates aren't that much, but the higher you can get the interest rate, the better for yourself. Now, the next question is, how many Americans have an online savings account? And this is the biggest issue because a lot of people don't have an online savings account. This is the reason why I made this video, because it is 2021. Right now, staying at home due to COVID, I know a lot of people are looking at their finances and realizing that they need to start saving, or they need to start looking at different alternatives and just understand the language of money. And this is the reason why we want to go ahead and explain this to people like myself, because sometimes we look at these things online and it makes it so hard. So my job here, like I said, is just to make this simpler for you guys. The question here is, how many Americans have an online savings account? I decided to go with Bankrate. Bankrate is just another blog itself, and you could read through all of this, and I've read it. When you're looking at a lot of blogs or you start putting questions on Google, a lot of times what happens is that a lot of people just repeat the information, which is good. If you start reading and rereading a lot of these things, it starts sticking to your head. Like, I don't have it by memory. I can't explain it to a lot of people in just the most simplest words. But the reason why I went on this page is because of this reasoning here, the excuses. Now, coming where I come from, a lot of people, we just tend to make excuses. We don't really know why we choose not to do things, and we just make it seem like things are harder than what it really is. Like reading, for example. You see, anybody can be doing what I'm doing, but instead what a lot of people do is they choose not to and just say that it's hard, which in reality, it isn't really that hard. The most common excuse, according to Bankrate, is that Americans aren't earning more interest. Again, you're not going to be getting rich off of an online savings account. It's just another method to go ahead and teach your brain to start saving money and start investing your money, which is the only way we're going to go ahead and become financially independent. A lot of other people just aren't comfortable with a bank or their credit union. It also says that nearly 4 in 10 Americans, say about 36%, aren't comfortable with banks. They would rather have a local branch. And based off of my experiences, I want to go ahead and say that the reason for this is because a lot of people in this world right now are like, say, baby boomers and all these, not millennials, I don't know what the other people are called, but the older people, I call them older people. They're transitioning into technology, so they don't really understand technology like myself. I'm a Generation Z, so I was born in 1997. So I understand technology a lot better than a lot of people. I'm a lot more comfortable. I also didn't go through all the bank runs and all these financial struggles or financial hits that the US went through. So I'm not that scared. And I tend to find, since I am in the construction business, a lot of the clients that I deal with, they're really protective of their money. And I want to go ahead and say it's because of the events that they went through. And majority of them, they just don't really study the laws. I know the other day I was talking to my mom and she called me saying that, hey, my friend is talking about this bank, and when the whole corona thing started, like, our bank's gonna go under and all this and that. I know a lot of people talk to me about real estate, and I told them that now there's laws in place that don't allow the same circumstances or the same type of events that happened in history, say 2008 and the Great Depression and all these other things, to happen again, because the government does fix those things. It's not perfect, but there's certain laws, like I'll go ahead and share with you guys later. People are just scared. People are just scared to make that transition. And I know for a lot of my friends, I try to tell them that, guys, where do you guys have your money? Don't let your money just sit in a checkings account. Yes, have some money saved in your checkings account, but it's better off just switching a lot of that portion to just an online savings account if you can. But these here are some common excuses that a lot of people just don't want to switch out to an online savings account. They're comfortable with their current institution, prepared to have access to a local branch, worried about security of the money, don't have enough savings to make it worthwhile, don't know such accounts existed, uncertain about ease, speed of transfer, it takes too much time and effort, don't know. This is just a response from 624 participants. At the end of the day, this is just a portion of the puzzle. So this is just a small group of people with these excuses, and according to myself, I think there's a lot more people. I want to go ahead and say about 1 in 5 of my friends don't have an online savings account. And it's just because they don't know, and they just don't understand money. And I'm not going to be telling you guys where you guys should be putting your money, which bank to choose, not for today's video at least. At the end of the day, you want to go ahead and be switching your money to an online savings account instead of using your bank down the road. And don't get me wrong, I actually have multiple banks. I have a Chase account, I have a Wells Fargo account, and then for my online savings account, I actually use Wealthfront. Banks are secured as long as they're FDIC insured, and if you're not rich like like myself, you might not have $250,000. So if you don't have $250,000 in just one bank account, then you shouldn't be scared. And if you have $250,000 in your savings account, you're still doing something wrong, because you should be investing that money into the stock market or into real estate, because an online savings account with that amount of money is still not going to make you rich. You're better off getting a better return on the stock market or the real estate game. Don't let these excuses here stop you from creating an online savings account. And then just to end the video here, I want to go ahead and show you guys or give you guys some tips on what makes a good savings account. And I have my tips already, and I'll just go over these tips that I found online because I did find them really, really good to know about. But I'll go ahead and as well give you guys my explanation about it. I decided to go with Money Under 30. This is another great money blog. I love reading this thing. They teach you everything about money. If you're not going to learn it in this channel, you can read it off of blogs. But number one thing, again, is competitive interest rate. So the bigger the APY, the more money you're going to be getting. So go ahead and do some shopping. Look at all these online savings accounts. Make sure that you choose the one with the highest interest rate, or maybe not even the highest interest rate, but consider all these other tips. So one thing, without having to read all these little things, is just make sure it has a good APY so you make more money. That's key number one. Number two is no fees. So there are going to be some online savings account that require fees. Again, you can just do your research, just read. All you got to do is read. Make sure they don't charge you for just keeping your money there or just opening an account, things like that. There's banks that, like Wealthfront, they'll go ahead and just let you start your bank with just even $1. Number three, ability to make some automatic transfers. There are some banks that require you to send everything through checks or just do a wire transfer, and it's just kind of, it's something that you don't want to go through because it makes everything such more difficult. And this is the reason why some people don't want to go ahead and make the switch. Tip number four would be liquidity. The reason why liquidity is so important is because you need to be able to get that money that you have saved up and change it out or take it out in case a rainy day does happen. So you want to make sure that there's easy access and it doesn't take forever to get that money. I don't really think it's that important because at the end of the day, an online savings account is just for online savings. That's it. And if you do have that emergency fund, hopefully you have a credit card to pay that thing and then use your online savings account. It makes it a lot easier. That's what I would recommend you do. Number 5 is mobile access. I would actually put this in my top 2. Reason being is that, again, I'm a Generation Z, so I like everything to be online. My phone is with me 24/7. I run my business through my phone, and if any company has an app, I will go with that company because apps are just a great thing for me to use. So as long as they have mobile access, I'm completely happy. That would be one of my top 2. And then FDIC approved, which is number 6, Federal Deposit Insurance. This is, again, just protection from the U.S. government, saying that if this bank goes under and you have your money with that bank, they will go ahead and reimburse your money up to $250,000. Again, you shouldn't have that type of money in your savings account, but in case you do, even if you have $249.99, they will cover you. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to make that transition to an online savings account instead of your regular savings account, or not even having a savings account. You want to make sure you make this transition right away. That's pretty much it, guys. Again, you can read through all these articles. I went through them real quick because at the end of the day, I told you guys that I want to make you guys independent thinkers. I don't want to teach you guys everything. I am going to make things simpler for you guys, where there's some words or some things that you want to go ahead and take into account. I'll explain things as easy as possible. Again, I grew up in the hood, so I can make anything that sounds smart and dumb it down a little bit, because at the end of the day, none of us are really smart. I deal with these big words all the time. I myself cannot even say a lot of these big words, but I will do the work for you guys. And if you guys have any questions whatsoever, go ahead and comment below. Hopefully this video helped you guys out and made you open up your eyes, and it got you to consider to open up an online savings account. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll go ahead and make more videos like this if you guys did enjoy them. I will do the research for you guys, or you guys can do the research while I'm making the videos. That way you guys are seeing this in real time and realize that I'm not making any of these things up, and a lot of these things I already know, but I'm not going to be able to remember them, and I want to make these videos as simple as possible and make sure, again, that you guys are independent thinkers, because that's the point of this whole entire school. And that's what our school system didn't teach us. They didn't teach us how to be independent thinkers. They didn't teach us to learn things that are really important in life, and I want to go ahead and change that, especially if you're coming with similar circumstances like myself. Class is dismissed. See you next time.